we go. We're on ESPN Radio, 1700 XCPE San Diego. I wanted to cover the Fuel TV card last night real quick. I mean, we're not going to go crazy in depth, but once again, we find ourselves watching a free UFC card, and once again, they deliver.
Amazing stuff. Loved it.
I wanted to point out that it's funny. I don't know if you remember this a couple weeks ago. TJ Dillashaw was a guy I picked to kind of go far, and everybody kind of laughed at me, and it didn't look so funny last night. Rear naked choke, Von Lee.
You call me out?
A little bit.
You call me out?
Just a tad. Just a little bit.
Look, I mean, the guy's got great skills. You want to be where he's at without his great wrestling skills.
I think he's got a really good work ethic.
Of course, he does. I think almost all the guys in this level do. The dude, I mean, I wasn't trying to hate on him a couple weeks ago. The guy's got to improve his striking, and his striking didn't look phenomenal last night either.
No,
I mean, if the guy wants to eventually fight for a title, he's gonna have to improve his striking. Period.
I mean, he's got plenty of time. I don't know.
His
title and TJ Dillashaw in the same sentence just yet.
Well,
he's got plenty of time.
Of course not. I'm just saying. I mean, we need to see more. We need to see some of these guys start improving. Gone are the days of where just one thing like wrestling could get you a title shot.
Oh,
Chael Sonnen. But other than that, I think if he was to improve his striking, sky's the limit for that guy.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the guy's a great up-and-comer. I mean, I look to see good things from the guy. Co-main event was fantastic. James Tahuna, Joey Beltran, a local guy. Joey's going to be on our show pretty soon. Man, fantastic fight. Any argument there with the fact that they made that fight of the night at all?
Absolutely not.
I mean,
no, absolutely not. That fight was amazing. The one thing James Tahuna, you can't do with a guy like Joey Beltran is let him hang around. And,
right.
He came really, really close to finishing him in the first round, and it just seemed like he kind of I don't know if he gassed. He didn't show it very. He didn't look gassed the second round, but towards the end of the fight, he was definitely gassed. And
Tahuna?
Yeah.
Well, it might have something to do with the fact that I think they said at one point in the first round he landed more significant strikes than anybody in 205-pound history.
I'm gonna tell you something though. That first round, not having seen too many Tahuna fights, that guy's striking is so impressive to me. He's just
quick.
It's so relaxed how he looks in there.
It looks effortless. It really does.
And a couple things I noticed when I started realizing, he might be tired, is when he was taking Joey Beltran down. I mean, let's be real here. Those are some of the easiest takedowns I've ever seen in MMA, period. And so I'm just like, you know what, he got caught a couple times, so I thought it was a phenomenal fight. Fight of the night, no question.
Great fight. It's two things about Joey Beltran that I'll mention. Is number one, I'm glad to see him at 205. I mean,
yes.
He looked a lot more trim, a lot more lean, and it was never evident more so than in the third round. I mean, that third round, he seemed to be able to keep going, and that move to 205. I think
he caught him a few times too. He came pretty close himself to being able to finish that fight. And I think the more and more he gets used to fighting at 205, assuming the weight cut wasn't that big a deal, I'd love to ask him that, but he looked phenomenal. I thought it was a great fight.
Absolutely, definitely well deserving of fight of the night. What's funny is with a guy like Beltran, I mean he has a real interesting way of kind of bringing you into taking you out of your game plan and making you fight his type of fight. And that's what I saw in the third round. The fact that it got fight of the night would lead me to believe that they're going to have Beltran around for a little while longer as well. They should. I would like to see him fight at 205 at least a few more times and see what happens there. One thing about that fight I didn't see anybody mention was the fact that Beltran was constantly circling into the power hand of Tahuna all night. It was that big right hand he's trying to stay away from, but he was constantly circling into it. I'm not a trainer, mind you, but I found that kind of interesting that nobody pointed that out.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't even really think about that. You just said that. You know what? He's phenomenal at turning it into, a scrap, basically. I mean, throw all the technical stuff out. This guy's just going to stand in front of you and bang, really.
He's got what heart, chin, game.
Amazing.
Fantastic guy to watch. Always get your money's worth, and that's what people love. I mean, casual fans and hardcore fans alike. I mean, you want to see entertaining, interesting fights, and you're always going to get that with Joey Beltran. And James Tahuna, fantastic up-and-coming fighter. I think at one point he had, I think they said the last 7 guys he dealt with, he stretched. So that's pretty dubious distinction right there.
Yeah.
Going right on into the main event of the night, Mark Munoz, Chris Weidman. This one was supposed to be a battle of wills. Each guy basically looking the same on paper, except for the fact that Chris Weidman had he had a pretty big reach advantage there going into the fight. But man, when you looked at the breakdown of everything, I thought the wrestling was going to cancel each other out. I thought Mark Munoz, he was going to have the chance to just throw bombs. And, fantastic game plan. Matt Serra is a great cornerman. Ray Longo's camp, I mean, they turn out gritty, tough fighters, man. And this guy is an up-and-comer. The thing I liked about his performance the most was the fact that he's just a brilliant combination of wrestling and jiu-jitsu. I mean, he has the wrestling base and can dictate where the fight goes. But all you saw was him just I mean, Mark Munoz was constantly defending. He was constantly in trouble the whole night. I mean, he just didn't give him an inch. There was nowhere to go there.
You know what? Last night, I think it's official. We could say that a star was born. I mean, this guy is going to be. This guy's a real deal. People, I don't know if you got to check any of the post-fight show with Chael Sonnen, but he was already calling him the best 185er in the world. Maybe they're taking a little stab at Anderson Silva. Maybe he's not done with that, but I like to see one more fight before we just throw him into a title shot. Maybe a number one contender fight with Alan Belcher. But what a phenomenal performance!
Absolutely.
With that being said, Mark Munoz, he's coming back from injury. Quite a long layoff. But, man, Chris Weidman absolutely dominated that fight. He took him down easy.
Yeah.
I mean, that elbow he landed was nasty.
Hey, when was the last time you saw one of those land? I mean, that came out of nowhere. I mean,
not
it was
just land, but, stun the guy and knock him down. It was phenomenal,
you think that stoppage is a little late? Just a
tad late, yeah. I mean, we were waiting for him to kill the guy.
Yeah, I mean, and that's crazy because what's funny is at the Fan Expo, I saw Josh Rosenthal. He was given, interviews, being an authority, and I still agree with the fact that he's one of the best reps out there. I mean, everybody has an off night. It's unfortunate for a guy like Mark Munoz that he had an off night in that fight. I mean, I was sitting there watching and I'm screaming at the TV, "Stop the fight!" know, and then I start wondering, am I off base by saying that? But then you watch the post-fight show and they all were saying the same thing.
No, at the end of the day, these fighters are depending on that referee to make sure that they're safe in there. And with that being said, I haven't heard what Mark Munoz said. Maybe him and his camp didn't think it. I mean, I'm sure he wanted every chance to recover.
I'm looking at it. I'm like, what are you waiting for? I don't know. I saw a guy that was bloody and had nothing to offer, and I'm like, okay, stop it.
I was thinking the same thing, but again, phenomenal performance by Weidman. I mean, this guy's going to be big.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think, you mentioned Mark Munoz coming off from layoff. He had major surgery for a lot of people out there that maybe didn't see it. If you just go YouTube or just Google it, you can actually see the pictures that Mark Munoz had of his surgery. I mean, it looked like they pulled dominoes out of his arm. I've never seen anything quite like it. So you got the long layoff, major surgery, and Chael Sonnen brought up a good point. Preparing for a 5-round fight is a totally different animal than a 3-round fight. I mean, you come back from all that, and not making excuses for Mark Munoz, but do you think maybe he bit off a little more than he could chew in this one? I mean, everybody wants to go back in there, and they want their title, but I mean, Chris Weidman's no joke, man. That's a tall order.
You know what? No, he's not. But if you're in Mark Munoz's camp, what are you supposed to do? You can't turn down the fight. So whether or not he bit off more than he could chew, who knows? I mean, Chris Weidman. I think last night, all that proved last night was that he's the real deal. He's definitely a contender. And I mean, he's going to be forced in the 185. As far as Mark Munoz, he'll be back. I mean, I'm looking forward to that guy's next fight.
Still, that guy's amazing to watch. I mean, like I said, everybody has an off night. I mean, Josh Rosenthal had one. Mark Munoz clearly had one.
The thing with Mark Munoz, it's amazing to me how, due to injury or due to like a long layoff, people forget about how good these guys are.
Right.
It's kind of like we got a guy like GSP kind of getting brushed aside, who's still one of the most popular people in all of MMA. But Mark Munoz, it's almost like fans forgot who he is.
Right.
I still had him number 2 in my middleweight rankings. He's going to drop a little bit, but is he going to drop out of my top 7? Absolutely not.
Definitely
I mean, everybody falls off the wagon, baby. He's going to get back up, and he's going to put together a nice little streak. I got a feeling.
He's a resilient guy. I can't wait to see it for sure. And if nothing else, Chris Weidman. I mean, you said it right there. A star was born, and he really he showed the world what his camp is probably known for years. And that guy is legit in every sense of the word. That's our recap right there.
Yeah, real quick. I mean, not to interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to give props to Rafael Dos Anjos. He led off the card. I thought he looked phenomenal.
Great point. I'm sorry.
He looked phenomenal. We don't really have the time to go over all the fights, but very, very impressive victory by him. So
he's an absolute beast too, man. Another one. I mean, man, this roster's ridiculous, man. It's
crazy.
Just full of killers, man. With that, we'll be right back. ESPN Radio, 1700 San Diego.
Rockhold or Kennedy? Who you got?
Coming up. We'll be right back. Oh, hold on.
You like how I threw that in there?
Oh, good.
27 seconds?
Okay, kind of like Rogan does for the truck out back. Can I get a replay? Awesome. Okay. Great. It's ridiculous, man. Dominoes, dude. That's what I said. All right, y'all. We're gonna bang this out. Take it to the book. I'll give you another winning ticket. Kind of a rough stretch.
You know what?
But
It's funny because we were talking about when we originally were thinking about taking to the book. To me, it was just going to be like a stone cold, rock solid one pick. Bet your damn house on that one pick. That was my.
But that's not my way.
But no, I'm saying that's what my theory was when we originally brought Take It to the Book back 4 months ago. And I think I'm going to start going back to that because it's just too hard to. It's too hard to parlay MMA.
Well, yeah, there's so many things that can go wrong.
Which is why the payouts are so big.
Well, yeah, and that's why, you can bet a 4-teamer and it pays out 10 to 1. I mean, that's the beauty of it.
With that being said, I got another parlay for us this week.
Well, bring that, man. I hope one of us wins, for God's sake. All right, welcome back, everybody. ESPN Radio 1700. We're going to cover our Strikeforce preview, and then we're going to do our Take It to the Book section, world famous, and we're going to bounce out of here. So right off the bat, you know what? Got another Strikeforce up here. It took them a couple months to put this card together, but you know what? I find myself the week of the fight thinking, you know what? It's all right because, again, I always drink the Kool-Aid, and here I am excited to see the main card. I think they did what they could as far as matchups here. A couple of intriguing matchups, a couple of guys who were clearly on their way out, and a few guys who were, passing them by on the way in. So there's no better example of that than one of the first fights we're going to talk about here. Keith Jardine, 17-10-2 against Roger Gracie. Gracie, he's one of the better Gracies to come into MMA in a long time. He's 65-7 as a professional grappler, and that's against the best in the world. I know a lot of people don't put a lot of stock in jiu-jitsu, but clearly with the name Gracie, there's a lot. The guy's used to he realizes and lives up to a lot of pressure there. He's 4-1 as an MMA fighter. He had a first-round knockout against Mo Lawal back in September 2011. But you know what? We don't know what Mo Lawal was on at that point in time. Does that take anything away from what Mo Lawal did back in the day? Do you think he's been fighting, just on a side note, do you think he's been taking those supplements a little bit too much for the duration of the career?
Yeah, but I mean, it still doesn't change the fact that...
doesn't change the scoreboard doesn't lie.
Yeah, no.
Scoreboard never lies. Just thought I'd like to throw that your way. So you got him fighting Keith Jardine. Keith Jardine, he's always the crafty, unorthodox vet. His favorite weapon in the arsenal is, kicks and bunches. He likes to throw them to the midsection. He likes to, he's got that herky-jerky style of motion. He likes to throw an overhand right. But, the big statistic here that sticks out in my mind is the fact that 5 of his last 8 losses have either been by brutal KO or TKO. They're one and the same. Does he have anything left to offer the sport? I mean, I don't see him changing his game all that much. He still looks like basically the same guy that we've always seen.
No, but with that being said, I think this is a perfect opponent for him. I mean, are we really worried about Roger Gracie knocking him out?
No.
This guy's stand-up, in my opinion, is pretty poor. I mean, if you watch that King Mo fight, I don't know. I'm just not. I haven't been very impressed with this. You get these guys that are so good at jiu-jitsu,
right.
They need something else to set that jiu-jitsu up. I mean, he just goes in there unless you're just going to start trying to pull guard or trying to trip him. He's got to have something to set that jiu-jitsu up. And assuming that Keith Jardine doesn't throw too many leg kicks and get caught, I think Keith Jardine is crafty enough with his stand-up to where he's going to be able to outpoint him, stay on the outside. The big question to me is if this fight goes to the ground, it's over. But I don't think we got to worry about Gracie knocking him out.
I mean, it's an interesting thing. It's for me, every time you watch a guy, end up on the wrong end of a losing fight. I mean, you wonder what's he going to come back with this time? Is he going to do anything different? I mean, that's pretty much the question in my mind. Does he show you anything different? I mean, I know you're not going to improve leaps and bounds over a period of 6 months, but do we see any improvement at all? I mean, time is going to tell. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, no, I've watched that fight with King Mo quite a few times, and I was just very unimpressed with his performance. He basically circles and circles and just waits for an opportunity to take him down, which is fine. But, it's just not the most pleasing fight to watch, in my opinion. And I do think we differ a little bit on this fight. I think Keith Jardine is technical enough with his striking to where he's going to be able to outpoint him and win this fight.
It could be. That's, again, sometimes we differ in opinion. That's what makes the world interesting for sure. I actually think the leg kicks are going to be Keith Jardine's downfall. I think that's going to create that space where Roger Gracie is going to take him down and
that's what I'm worried about.
Way with him.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. That's why not a penny of my money is going on this fight.
It's an interesting fight, but you know what? It's a fantastic opportunity for both really. For Keith Jardine, it's a chance for him to stay relevant against a name like Gracie. I mean, it's not the big. He's not a top 10 fighter, but it is a name and it gives Jardine a chance to stay relevant. For Roger Gracie, he has a chance to take out a big name and climb on up the ladder. So great opportunity for both. I'm going with Roger Gracie on that one. Next fight, Robbie Lawler versus Lawrence Larkin. Larkin, 12-0, man. As far as I'm concerned, this is a pick 'em fight. For me, for my money, really it comes down to who's going to make the first mistake, who's going to land that first shot. And, like I said, I'm staying away from this one. But, it's funny, is Robbie Lawler, man, a few words if you've ever seen any of his interviews. Basically, he always finds himself having trouble with guys that are really good grapplers. He obviously he shines when a guy prefers to stand and bang, and that's really what you got to watch out for. He's very his timing's great. Nobody can question his power, and he's real confident there on his feet. I mean, this is a perfect matchup for him to look good, and Lawrence Larkin too.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to see this fight. This is going to be a great fight. Robbie Lawler, I mean, no surprise. The guy's been a staple of Strikeforce. I think we all kind of know what to expect out of him.
Oh, yeah.
And we've said it before on shows. Robbie Lawler's the kind of guy that's not out of any fight he's in.
No.
He's not always going to be the favorite. He's not always going to be the technically best, but he's never not have a chance to win any of the fights he's in. A couple things I noticed with Lorenz Larkin. He lost to King Mo. That was the, King Mo.
Right, overturned.
That's dirty.
Twice
It got overturned, but let's be real here, he lost. One thing I noticed in a couple different fights is he throws vicious power strikes, but he holds his hands low, and I noticed that he holds his hands like down on his waist.
Real bad habit.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking that's, not only is that a real bad habit, but you go against a guy like Robbie Lawler who, no question, has, one-punch knockout power. I got to think they get that fixed. With that being said, can't wait to see this fight. I think Robbie Lawler's going to catch him and win this fight.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
No.
It's funny about Robbie Lawler. Sometimes, like when it stays standing and you think he's being mesmerized by somebody's style, he'll bust out a flying knee, an overhand right, something coming out of nowhere, right on the button, and that's it. So this fight right here is, in my opinion, probably one of the best. The main event's great too, and we'll get to that. But this is a fantastic fight right here.
Yeah, I can't wait
for the fans.
I can't wait to see this fight. A lot of people are talking. I read a bunch of articles on this fight about Lorenz Larkin and his phenomenal takedown defense, and he does have phenomenal balance and takedown defense.
Right.
But let's be real here. I mean, Robbie Lawler's got a good wrestling background, but do you really think Robbie Lawler's going to go in there trying to take him down? I mean, let's be honest.
That's not going to be a factor in this fight.
Why would that? I can't believe people in our profession, so-called professionals, are even saying that's going to be an issue. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking at this fight completely wrong.
Not for me. I think this is these guys like to stand and bang. That's what you see is what you get. Somebody's going to make a mistake and somebody's going to get clipped. That's the way I'm calling it.
No question.
Co-main event: Nate Marquardt, Tyrone Woodley. This is a fantastic chance for Marquardt, who's now gotten another chance under the Zuffa banner to really shine. But for me, you got a guy like Nate Marquardt. He trains at Jackson's and Grudge in Colorado, which I'm a big fan of, by the way. This is his first fight back under the Zuffa banner. He hasn't fought since March of 2011. I'm a big believer in ring rust. He hasn't been put away since Anderson Silva. So, I mean, that, like I said, nobody's putting him away despite some of the losses on his record. But he has no TRT this time, and he's got a lot of pressure and a lot of ring rust. For me, that's a lot to overcome against a guy like Tyrone Woodley, who's 10-0, up and coming, powerhouse guy, likes to take you down. In my opinion, if Tyrone Woodley is persistent and stays with the takedowns and doesn't get frustrated, he's going to dictate the pace of this fight, and I do believe he's going to win. That's my pick, Tyrone Woodley. How do you see it?
You know what, Nate Marquardt, to me, you mentioned the TRT, which I'm still a little foggy on. I'm still not, when's that okay, when is it not okay?
Nobody knows.
I still don't really get that. But, I mean, we've seen him even with the TRT gas before.
Right.
That fight against Chael Sonnen he had, which was the battle of the TRT, he gassed. I mean,
right.
flat out gassed, so... but with that being said, he's a phenomenal fighter. I mean, this guy, I'm always waiting for him to just put everything together, and he's shown brilliance in fights before. Tyrone Woodley gotten to the point where he's at now. Step up in competition. Can we agree on that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Nate Marquardt has almost 50 professional fights. Absolutely, that's a step up in competition.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not really sure how much the layoff will affect him. I mean, we saw what it did to Mark Munoz. Whether it would have made any difference or not, who knows?
Hard to say.
I actually like Nate Marquardt in this fight.
You know what? Like I said, that's probably going to be him dying by the sword right there. It's either going to make him or break him. The pressure of coming back, he's got a lot to prove. It's either going to be overwhelming and too much, or he's going to shine. One of two things is going to happen.
We've seen some pretty slick submissions out of Nate Marquardt, and I see at some point in this fight Tyrone Woodley being able to take him down and just leaving his neck there for a guillotine choke, and that's how I actually have this. I think Marquardt wins guillotine choke.
It could very well happen. I picked Woodley. I don't think he's going to put Marquardt away, but I think the wrestling is going to slow down the hands, and I don't think Marquardt's going to be able to deal with the wrestling. Just my opinion. We go into the main event of the night. Tim Kennedy 14-3, Luke Rockhold 9-1. Another fantastic matchup. These guys actually, in my opinion, they kind of mirror each other, just in style, in record, both in what they bring to the table. Want to get your pick on this one?
It's so funny you said that because one of my notes I have written down here is mirror images. You know, and they absolutely
truly
are.
are.
Tim Kennedy, how can you help but not root for this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, just everything he does with the military and bringing guys to the fights. I mean, both of these guys are great. Both these guys got tremendous futures, matched up at the perfect time. I see both these guys with the UFC future. With that being said, you see the odds, you know, and we're big odds guys.
Bit lopsided on this one.
You know what? They are, but I'm looking at those odds trying to say, okay, I think Tim Kennedy was like a plus 220 or something like that.
That's ridiculous.
And I try not to look at those odds and think you know, I try not to let that have any effect on who I'm going to pick. So with that being said, I actually think Luke Rockhold is at this point in their respective careers a more well-rounded fighter, and I think he's going to win this fight.
Two fantastic camps, a.k.a. versus Jackson's submission.
Which is exactly what it came down to with me. I'm
Absolutely.
not even kidding you. Last night I'm thinking about who I'm going to pick, and that is 100% the reason why I picked Rockhold is because a.k.a. versus Jackson, going a.k.a.
Absolutely. You know what? The one thing I like about Luke Rockhold is the fact that he's a world champion as a blue belt and as a purple belt with no gi.
Yeah.
And for me, what that means is that a guy's going to have good MMA jiu-jitsu. I mean, he's used to training, grappling with no gi. That said, I like Tim Kennedy too. I mean, for obvious reasons, but the fact is the guy's always looking to step it up in competition.
No doubt.
That's exactly what he does, and that's what I admire in a fighter. He's always looking to challenge himself, and he's always looking for a fight. This one, I mean, like I said, you look at things on paper, and, you know, I'm sitting here looking, okay, which one's the fight of the night? I mean, if everything goes the way I think it's going to go, I mean, this is going to be tough to really top, and it's a great main event for Strikeforce, in my opinion.
Who needs a good show? Strikeforce, I've been down on them for about the last year. You know, besides the announcing and the broadcasting, they need a good show.
2-month layoff, they need to put on a good show.
They need a good show.
Absolutely, a lot of pressure there. So I love this matchup. Both early on in their careers, one's going to lose, one's going to win, and it's pretty much going to dictate the future, or at least the short-term future for both guys. I mean, one guy's probably going to get that ticket to the UFC a little faster than the other based on the outcome of this fight.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So who you got?
I'm going Tim Kennedy in this one.
You are going
slight
Tim
edge.
Kennedy.
I think they made a mistake, and I like Kennedy.
So you like those odds, or you like Tim Kennedy to win this fight?
I like Tim Kennedy to win this fight, and if they're going to give me free money, I will gladly take it. Absolutely.
You can't go wrong. I mean, wouldn't surprise me, that's for sure.
And speaking of free money, that brings me to my favorite segment. Take it to the book. Man, I've taken a beating the last couple of shows, but you know what? You got to put yourself out there, and being the degenerate gambler that I am, I don't mind. Like I'm used to it by now.
Yeah.
Let's throw yours out there first.
You know what? My take to the book, I'm just going to tell all you people at home, I don't feel good about any of these. But since this is our weekly segment, I had to come up with one. I got a little three-legger for you. Ooh. I got Keith Jardine at a plus 130. I think Keith Jardine's going to go in there and outpoint Roger Gracie, however you want to pronounce it. I got Luke Rockhold, minus 310. I would really advise you to stay away from those odds. But, again, I got to pick something. I'm picking Luke Rockhold.
Put yourself out there, baby.
And Nate Marquardt, minus 130. Got those three. Do it. Take it to the book.
It's a pretty sexy card right there. Yeah. Ballsy too. I like it. I'm going a little four-legger, man. I am the king of the four-leggers. I love 10-1 payouts. I can't get enough of them. I'm going to throw you a little curveball here. I got a couple of boxing matches this weekend. David Hay and Michael Chisora, man. Two of the dirtiest players in the game.
Did you see that they had the
cage?
Yeah, what is up with that?
Because I don't know if you saw Chisora fight Klitschko. He spit and he punched him in the press conference, and it's just
a scumbag, man.
Yeah, the fact that UK fans, I believe they're having it over in your neck of the woods. That tells you all you need to know right there. They can't even get it sanctioned over here because of what
are these guys like the Pope? They got to have some piece of fiberglass in between. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Well, the funny thing is that there's holes in the glass. I'm like, okay, these guys are obviously bad enough that they need a cage in front of them. So who's going to spit through the cage? Which one of them
are going to do
that?
How much of that is hype, though? How much of that is hype? It's
probably a lot.
Come on, give me a break.
Probably a lot. I mean, they're in the ticket selling business too, just like every other promoter, and that's really what it comes down to. But again, going with the take it to the book, I'm going David Hay wins this one. He's a slight favorite, minus 280. Also love Amir Khan, big time favorite in here, minus 600. I think that's a bit steep for him being a favorite. Love Tim Kennedy at plus 220 and Tyrone Woodley minus 110. That'll get you about an 8.5 to 1 payout. So that's what I'm going with. And where can we find you on Twitter, man?
You can find me on Twitter at DarrenPFP Sports.
And at NickPFP Sports.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/pound-for-pound-sports.
And with that, I'm going to say, praise be to the Most High, that ain't no lie. ESPN Radio 1700, XEPE San Diego. See y'all next time. Nighty night.
Cheers.